Well, we all know that it's important to eat healthy, but can we trust that the foods that we're now eating are infused with the proper vitamins and nutrients and minerals that are necessary to keep our bodies functioning properly? Well, that's the general idea of epigenetics, and today I'm going to be speaking with the pioneer of epigenetics, Dr. Joel Wallach. He joined us in studio to talk about his new book. So thank you so much for joining us, Doc Wallach. It's a pleasure to have you actually in studio.
Well, thank you, Leanne. It's a pleasure to be with you. I always like to be around the young ladies.
Yes, you know. Well, I'm like a huge fan. I get pollen burst every day before the show. It really works for me. I like that little rush, vitamin B and the niacin.
And the SOD, superoxide dismutase, gets the oxygen into the cells. Yeah, it's a very famous product, actually. It was the sports drink of the Flying Finns. Most people your age don't know who the Flying Finns were. They're actually the Finlanders track team in the Olympics in 1972 and 1976, and they won all the track and field events, and newspaper reporters dubbed them the Flying Finns. And they had their special secret drink that they had, and it turns out that it's pollen burst is what it is, and it went through several pharmaceutical companies, and then we actually acquired that product, and it's one of our favorite products. It's a great product. It's organic. It's made from organic flower pollen, not bee pollen, but flower pollen from Switzerland. And professional athletes, Olympic athletes can take it, and they won't test bad for anything that they're looking for in these tests, like lamps, you know.
Right, exactly.
Nothing will test bad because it's all natural, organic.
Correct. Like now all the athletes have is like Gatorade and things like that. So.
Ooh, ouch. Well, yeah, well, Gatorade has 2 nutrients in it. Powerade has 6. Our longevity version of sports drink, which is called Rebound, has 100 nutrients in it. So let's see. If you're going to be an athlete and you're sweating out nutrients, do you want to replace it with distilled water? No, there's none in there. Gatorade is 2, Powerade is 6, and then there's Rebound with 100. Exactly.
Well, and my favorite flavor is the acai berry, but now I'm reading some new reports coming out saying that, you know, the acai and blueberries and all of these antioxidants to stop with, anti-aging cures and everything is kind of a sham. What do you think about that?
Well, the principle is quite correct, that the antioxidants do help your genes maximize their genetic potential. For instance, you might have genes that will allow you to live to be 200 if you do everything right. But if you don't do everything right, that gene can't do it by itself. You need the raw materials for it to get there. For instance, if you have a car like a Lamborghini and it says you need 6 quarts of oil in there, that car will go 300,000 miles before you need a new engine. If you only put 6 quarts of water in that crankcase instead of 6 quarts of oil, is that car going to get 300,000 miles? No. You might not even get one tank full of gas distance. You might not go 500 miles before the engine burns up with water. And so the same thing is true with our genes. You can have genes that will allow you to live to be 200, but if you're just trying to eat well, which is what everybody said, I ate well, and then you're not getting guaranteed, drop-dead guaranteed, giving your genes everything they need to maximize your genetic potential for longevity and health. And so we have to be smarter than that. And I think what makes my background different, Leanne, is that I'm a veterinarian as well as a physician. And in veterinary medicine, we don't have health insurance for animals. And if we were to use a human healthcare system for livestock like we do people, a dozen eggs would be $250, a pound of hamburger would be $500 just to pay for the healthcare system. So we learned a long time ago that we could prevent diseases, we could prevent birth defects, we can maximize production of meat, eggs, and milk for a pound of feed by just giving these animals vitamins and minerals. Now, I'm one of the authors of the Animal Welfare Act of 1964 because animals were being abused. And so I actually was part of a team of 6 guys from the National Science Foundation, who I was working for at the time, to come up with the Animal Welfare Act, which is passed in Congress. It's a federal law now that even laboratory animals under experimental circumstances had to be cared for in a very, very kindly and judicious way. You can't leave them without water and food over the weekend so they cannibalize each other and that sort of stuff and make up the results of the experiment. And so we took care of that with that Animal Welfare Act, and so I was very, very proud of my association with that.
Yeah, thank you for that, by the way. Now, you were mentioning a lot of people, you know, eat healthy, which is what I do, but I do not supplement. I'm really bad at, you know, taking vitamins and things. I can't do it. I mean, I'm good now with the droppers. That's a little bit easier for me, but the pills, I just don't like that.
Well, then you're going to love the Beyond Tangerine 2.0, which is a NutriCrystal. It's kind of built on the coffee crystal technology, and you add, say, 2 scoops to 10 ounces of water in one of the little bottles, and it turns into a liquid.
Yeah.
And the 2.0 tastes like peaches. People just love it. I mean, this is one of Alex's favorites. And it has 245 nutrients in it. You're guaranteed it. Now, a couple days ago, I just, in the Chinese system, turned 75. The American system, I turned 74 plus. And I haven't been to a doctor with me being sick in 68 years. I've never been on a prescription medication. And I've been taking the 90 essential nutrients twice a day.
You're 75.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow. Your skin is very supple. Well, I wasn't going to say anything, but...
Well, nobody's going to steal an airplane with me on it. Okay, I'll tell you. I can still whoop up on them. And that's because I do take the 90 essential nutrients twice a day, faithfully. Obsessively is probably a better word, because I have 3 suitcases. They weigh 70 pounds each, which I check in with me no matter where I go. And 50 pounds in each of those 3 suitcases are my supplements that I take with me.
Wow. I
don't depend on having just a few bottles with me and I run out and say, well, I was without it for a month because I ran out. That will never happen. And I've been blessed. And of course, I have 4 children. I have 8 grandchildren, 4 great-grandchildren, and they've never been sick because they've been taking the 90 essential nutrients before they were conceived. All the pregnancies are developed in from the moment they're born. And we can make America a birth defect-free country. We can make America a diabetes-free country. We can make America a heart disease-free country. We can make America an Alzheimer's disease-free country. We can make America a macular degeneration, blindness, disease-free country in months by taking the 90 essential nutrients to give your genes the cofactors they need to give you the maximum benefits for health and longevity.
Right.
Without that, it's kind of hit and miss.
Right. This goes all the way back to Hippocrates, right? Talking about food being the basic for all health. Figure out how to regulate and make sure the person's diet is good, and you'll figure out how to heal them and make them healthy. I mean,
Let your food be your medicine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so you were saying, you know, for someone like me who does eat well and I eat properly, I'm mostly a vegetarian, but the issue is the soil. I'm missing the minerals. They're not even in the soil feeding the plants.
Okay, you hit the nail on the head there, Leanne. That's the principal problem we have. And there's 2 events that did that to us. We knew the exact moments. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday, September 4th, 1882, on Pearl Street in New York City, everything changed. For thousands and thousands and thousands of years, we had gotten our minerals from plant minerals, a.k.a. wood ashes, which went into our garden. Every day you take the wood ashes from the fireplace or the stove and you throw them in the garden, and the corn and the beans and peas and the sweet potatoes and onions and okra and tomatoes would suck up all these minerals you threw into the garden with the wood ashes, and you'd eat the food and you got your minerals in that fashion. Well, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday, September 4th, 1882, on Pearl Street in New York City, Thomas Edison pulled the switch on the first commercial electric generating plant. Within 10 years, Leanne, every city and every municipality and every town in the industrialized world converted from wood as the universal fuel to electricity.
Wow.
And immediately then, the source of nutritional minerals we had had for thousands of years went away, because there's no wood ashes left over when you fuel your home with electricity. Now, a second thing happened, which is even more devastating. About the same time, because people wanted more electricity, we started building all these hydroelectric plants and dams all across all the big rivers in America: Missouri River, Mississippi River, Columbia River, the Albany River, Hudson River, and so forth. And we dammed up all these rivers. The Tennessee River, we dammed them all up. Well, what happened was, for thousands and thousands and thousands of years since the beginning of time, rivers would flood every year. And when the water would recede, they would leave silt behind on the fields. These were the most expensive and the most fertile farmlands, were floodplains. Bottomland, they called it. And would the farmers scrape that silt, that mud off from the flood off to the side? No, they would till it in the soil.
Wow.
We dammed up all the rivers, so what's the people who manage these dams, what do they complain about? All the silt building up behind the dams. It never gets to the fields anymore.
Right.
So over 25 years, after the rivers were dammed up and electricity came online, we were still growing plants, and we grew the plants, and they sucked up all the minerals out of the soil, and then there was no minerals in the soil. We got the Dust Bowl, because there was nothing in the soil, no plants could live, and so they invented synthetic fertilizer, which has no nutrition in it for humans, but it makes the plants grow. Right. And they get paid for yield. They don't get paid for how much nutrition is in the food. Farmers get paid by yield, tons and bushels.
Right.
And so the whole system is all messed up. And so the only way to override that system is to supplement with the 90 essential nutrients, 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 essential amino acids, 3 essential fatty acids, and then you're guaranteed you're going to get everything you need to have perfect babies. We will not have another birth defect if everybody took the 90 essential nutrients before they conceived a child.
Right.
Every birth defect you can name and 10 times that many you can't, Leanne, are all caused by nutritional deficiency of the embryos. There's not a single disease that a baby's born with is caused by genetics. It's all nutritional deficiencies of the embryo.
So for someone like me, a woman, I have yet to have children, and I know obviously just basic science, we're born with all of the eggs we're ever going to have as women. Am I able to turn back time, or have I already done the damage? Or
no, you haven't done the damage yet, because the clock starts ticking on danger for the embryo at the moment of conception. Okay? When the sperm fertilizes the egg, that's it. If you don't have all the nutrients at that point, the baby's in danger. We're talking Down syndrome. We're talking everything as simple as lactose intolerance, things like PKU, phenylketonuria, where babies get retarded from breakdown products of an amino acid, things like type 1 diabetes, cerebral palsy, cleft palate, spina bifida, muscular dystrophy, cystic fibrosis. In fact, I found the first non-human case, and this is me on the cover of the book, with my cystic fibrosis monkeys back in 1977 at Yerkes Primate Center in Atlanta, Georgia, at Emory University. And everybody agreed that's what it was. But they said, well, Wallach, you're saying it's not a genetic disease. You're saying it's caused by nutritional deficiency of the embryo. That's right. Well, they fired me. That's when I went back to school and became a physician.
Because you were going to heal everyone.
Exactly. They didn't like that part. And
pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, that's why Alex loves that book and loves the story, because it shows very clearly that to keep doing what they're doing rather than follow the truth, they're willing to kill off the truth. For instance, we know the cause, prevention, and cure of muscular dystrophy. We gave that information to Jerry Lewis, and said, Jerry, we don't want any money. We've already found the cure. Do you want to be the one to make the announcement? Jerry, you are the guy. These are Jerry's kids. You deserve to make the announcement that the cure's been found. He took all that information to the Muscular Dystrophy Foundation, and they fired him 4 years ago. That's why he has not been doing the telethons.
Wow.
The Muscular Dystrophy Foundation fired Jerry Lewis after 22 years and raising billions of dollars for them. They fired him because he brought them the cure for muscular dystrophy.
Exactly. And that's kind of the same thing we talk a lot with the cancer, and how everyone wants to fight cancer and find the cure. But if they do, then that's billions of dollars that they're not going to continue to funnel into those little factories of finding the cure.
Well, if I told you a secret, don't tell anybody, okay? And that is, you can reduce your risk of breast cancer by 462% by cooking your meat medium rare rather than well done, because heterocycloamines, which occur when you burn animal fats, are worse than any chemical the Dow Chemical and Monsanto can make. And they make horrible chemicals, believe me.
Wow.
But burnt animal fat is worse than any of that to cause breast cancer.
Wow.
You eat meat cooked well done, you increase your risk of breast cancer by 462%. You eat your meat cooked medium rare, you reduce it by 462%. You supplement with selenium, you actually reduce your risk of breast cancer by 82%. This is one of my lawsuits against the FDA, which I prevailed in federal court to be able to say that without fear of retribution from the government and being put in jail and so forth. I can say you can reduce your risk of cancer by many, many different types of cancer, including prostate cancer, colon cancer. We've done many studies with Manitoba University up in Canada and Clemson University in the United States on cell cultures in animals, and now we're moving on to people because of experiments in both cell cultures of human cells with cancer and animals. The results are so good. Mm-hmm. In some cases, we can reduce the risk of cancer. We can kill cancer cells by 95% just with nutrient combinations.
Right.
And this is unheard of. Doctors say it's impossible. Well, you have to appreciate the average doctor in America lives to be 56. That's their own study, came out in 1999. And why would anybody want to listen to a group of people whose average lifespan is 56 and how to live to be 100?
Exactly. I used to work for a doctor, and that was one of my biggest complaints, is that I knew more than he did about health and nutrition, and his first go-to was just to give someone a prescription to something, and I'm like, this is the Hippocratic Oath. Why do you not understand nutrition?
And what did he say?
He just kind of, eventually he did start recommending yoga and things like that rather than
there's
just
a lot of
giving
nutrition
people
in
pain
yoga.
pills, but yeah, absolutely.
There's no nutrition in yoga.
Well, it does go to the parasympathetic nervous system.
Yes. Well, that's mind, body, spirit, isn't it? Mm-hmm. But everybody always forgets the body piece, the 90 essential nutrients.
Yeah.
They spend all their time doing yoga and being spiritual.
And then go get McDonald's afterwards. Now, you get into the history of how the soil became depleted,
yes,
and these studies and how they've been suppressed and everything in your book, Epigenetics. Mm-hmm. What is epigenetics? Can you give me layman's terms?
Okay, sure. Well, the term epigenetics is a one-word definition of the need for your genes, your DNA, and your RNA to have catalysts and cofactors to maximize their potential. Mm-hmm. Again, it's like that car that can go 300,000 miles with oil in it and brake fluid and transmission fluid and coolant in the radiator. If you're missing any of those fluids, you reduce the life of that engine maybe by 50,000 miles or 10,000 miles. But if you did something really drastic by replacing the 6 quarts of oil in the crankcase with 6 quarts of water, again, you might not get that car to go the distance that would carry you normally in one tank of gas, maybe 500 miles. It won't go. The engine will burn up before that. Put oil in there, it'll go 300,000 miles. Mm-hmm. Okay? And so it's very exciting when you see all the results of very expensive studies that back that up. The death of the genetic theory of disease transmission. Again, Leanne, you have to appreciate that over the thousands of years, the halls of science are filled with failed medical theories. Evil spirits, mm-hmm, spontaneous generation, the 4 humors, if they're out of balance, do bloodletting to try and get everything back in balance. The cholesterol thing, cholesterol doesn't cause disease. Cholesterol is an essential nutrient. That whole thing on cholesterol, I spent 35 years, Leanne, looking for the paper that showed that cholesterol was dangerous. I spent 35 years looking for it. Well, I finally found the paper, but what it said was it was all an advertising campaign. There was no science. There was never any science behind it. Animal fat is the best thing for you. Butter, right, cream, lard.
Yeah, that's on Time magazine now. Eat more butter. And when there was this whole, for over a decade, you know, the anti-fat movement. Now they're like, eat some butter.
Oh, a stick of butter a day keeps the doctor away. Hamburger a day is like a day, you know, a day without a hamburger is like a day without sunshine. A pound of meat a day keeps the doctor away. And these are all failed medical theories, and they've killed millions and millions of people with these failed medical theories because the cancer rate's gone up, the death rate from heart disease has gone up because the medical system and the American Heart Association and Procter & Gamble, who made Crisco, which is originally a machinery oil from factories. Crisco is originally a machine oil. It was never designed originally to be a food. But they bought it and turned it into a food because they said, we can make more money selling it as a food than we could as a machine oil. But it was originally designed as a machine oil by a Nazi sympathizer by the name of Wilhelm Norman. And they said, well, we have to come up with an ad campaign because mothers and grandmothers did not like to use Crisco because they liked lard and butter and cream. And so they went to the American Heart Association and said, look, we'll give you $1.7 million if you endorse Crisco as a healthier fat than beef fat, pork fat, lard, cream, and butter, and eggs. And they did they prostituted themselves for $1.7 million because before that they were especially without a disease because there was no heart disease in America until people started using oils, and then we have heart disease, which are caused by nutritional deficiencies and oils.
Right, and you got to just wonder how much money people were given to say artificial sweeteners are better, you know, than pure cane sugar or something like that, or high fructose corn syrup. It's fine. Here, use corn and everything.
Well, it's all driven by money,
right,
no doubt about it. It's not driven by science and health. And as you say, it's on the cover of Time magazine, a big chunk of butter is saying, eat more butter is now known to be healthier than vegetable oils. just the opposite of what doctors have been saying for 80 years. Somebody needs to go to jail here, Leanne.
Right, exactly. And who is behind all of this? And now why the sudden push? Because they're certainly not trying to all of a sudden
be nicey nice,
make everyone healthy and do away with the healthcare industry.
I think what's happened is, and I may be sort of bragging on myself too much, but for 35 years I've been hammering on them with the Dead Doctors Don't Lie books and things. And I imagine they went and looked and did the studies to try and refute what I was beating up on them with the Dead Doctors Don't Lie concept. And they said, oh my gosh, Wallach's right. Well, I actually published that in 1971. I compared the percentage of blockage in coronary arteries and heart arteries in vegetarians, vegans, and meat eaters. I used special stains to show saturated fat, cholesterol in the arteries and so forth. Published it in an international pathology journal in Acta Pathologica, which is from Denmark, back in 1971. And guess who had the worst plugged arteries? Vegans.
Really?
Vegetarians that don't eat any animal, don't even eat eggs or dairy, vegans. And that's because they eat stored grains. What happens to the wheat germ oil when you store it for a year? It oxidizes and turns into trans fatty acids, blocks your arteries with inflammation, causes cancer. And then they stir fry everything in extra, 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 virgin, 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 olive oil and coconut oil, and cause cancer and plug your arteries. Yeah.
Trendier the more
exactly.
Extra virgin.
Exactly. And well, that's the problem. And so they've actually killed more people than the Nazis did during the Second World War with these vegetable oils. Absolutely criminal.
Yeah, and I was actually just reading today that it's the oils and the wheats and these toxins in the food that causes all this disease in the gut. And that, again, going back to Hippocrates, that was like, that's where the disease all begins. And we have all of these.
It always begins in the colon.
Right.
Okay, and that's where the gluten intolerance comes in.
Exactly.
Because it's all in the intestines, the colon. And again, the story of all these things is in the book, Epigenetics, so that people get the history. You have to understand the progression. And again, the halls of science, Leanne, are filled with thousands and thousands of failed medical theories. And the cholesterol one is just another one.
Well, you break it all down in this book, and it's, I mean, the way you explain it is all so simple. Seems like it would be such a simple fix. Well, here we've done a lot of damage, but we really can turn it all around.
It is a simple fix, and of course, it was designed to be an ad campaign. The Procter & Gamble paid the American Heart Association $1.7 million to endorse Crisco as a healthier cooking shortening than butter and cream and lard that people have been using for thousands of years.
Exactly.
There was never any science. There was never, I looked for it for 35 years, and I couldn't figure out, why couldn't I find the science? Because it was an ad campaign. We finally figured it out.
Right, well, that's this whole thing is just tricking everyone into buying this and saying, no, cancer and heart disease and all of these things, they've always been around. People have always been dying from these things in these record numbers. You know, the whole gaslighting campaign. Well, thank you so much for breaking it down. I know this book really has a lot of extensive research, and it is quite an easy thing for people. Just do a little research, and we can turn this whole thing around. So thank you for all of the work that you're doing, and we'll have you back soon, Doc.
Thanks for your hospitality, Leanne.
Thanks. Well, I've heard it's a great book. I can't wait to read it myself, and knowledge is power. Now I know I need to start doing a daily supplement along with my healthy diet. Now you can pick up those 90 essential vitamins and minerals that Doc Wallach was speaking about at InfoWarsHealth.com. It's in a lot of the products that are there. Just do a little research. You can always pick up the Alex Pack 2.0, and that'll have the 90 essential vitamins and minerals that we need so we can all look as good as the doc when we hit our 70s.